The comedy of contradiction is playing out in Kyiv, and the entire sequence is caught on camera. The man in charge, President Volodymyr Zelensky, is planning to export Ukraine's weapon technology to Europe. But hundreds of kilometers away, his captured troops are revealing realities that send chills down the spine. Here's what's happening. From his Kyiv office, Zelensky announced Ukraine will soon open 2 export capitals in Berlin and Copenhagen to sell drones, missiles, and other homegrown weapons to Europe. He says it's a way to generate funds for domestic arms production.
It seems that we are opening 2 export capitals. This is the production and export of the weapons we talked about. Weapons that we can afford to sell, to have extra money for domestic production of scarce things we don't have enough of. Berlin will be there, Copenhagen will be there this year. Oleksandr Commission is in charge of how this will be legally opened and contracts with Europe developed. He will represent Ukraine's exports on the European continent.
Zelensky says Ukraine must sell weapons and push Europe to unlock frozen Russian assets or risk financial collapse this winter.
Regarding frozen assets, it is the quickest and most certain way to secure 140–160 billion for Ukraine. Belgium holds 160 billion. It needs understanding. I am confident Belgium doesn't oppose it because it concerns everyone's responsibility. But naturally, when most of these funds reside in one country, questions arise. We hope everyone will find this tool. It's the best one.
But far from Kyiv, in Ukraine's north, soldiers are telling a very different story. In Kupyansk, where Russian forces have surrounded Ukrainian positions. One captured soldier says his unit was starved, cut off, and abandoned. His name is Roman Krutko, of the 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade.
We worked for several days. Ammunition and food started running out. We hadn't eaten for several days because everything was gone. Then we ran out of ammunition completely. We saw that Russian troops had dropped leaflets. We took a white cloth and went to surrender in the field. The Russian soldiers tied us up, and here we are now. We were told to hold the building, but how could I hold it if I couldn't even shoot properly? I'm not military. I have no skills. I was told that if I tried to flee, I'd be executed immediately as a traitor. That was our last chance to survive.
The same despair echoes hundreds of kilometers to the south, in Pokrovsk, still known as Krasnoarmysk, where more Ukrainian troops have surrendered. They say the front line has collapsed completely.
The situation in Krasnoarmysk is very difficult. Drones are flying, constant shelling. There's no way in or out. We can't even evacuate the wounded. The dead are left lying in the tree lines. We asked our commanders to withdraw us. They said, "Hold on, the situation will improve." But nobody did anything.
They describe chaos, starvation, and thirst, with the wounded left screaming in the fields.
The atmosphere was terrible. No evacuation, the wounded were screaming. Some got a painkiller, some didn't. We starved all the time. There was no water, constant thirst, no medicine. We decided to surrender. I told my comrade there was no point in holding on. They fed us, gave us water, everything was fine. To my surprise, they treated us better than our own commanders.
But in Kyiv, Zelensky continues to talk of military growth and innovation, not collapse. He says Ukraine is mass-producing new missiles and drones.
We are progressing well in the production of our missiles. We are already using new missiles like Flamingo and Ruda. I won't specify the quantity, but we expect mass production by the end of this year. Our Neptunes are already in mass production, both standard and long-range versions, and they are performing very well.
On the ground, however, even the unfit are being forced to fight. Alexander Protsenko, Another captured Ukrainian says he was disabled and partially deaf, yet thrown into battle.
On March 8 this year, they threw me into a bus and took me to the enlistment office. I hit my head. I have a scar here. Since then, people told me I slowed down, but they shoved me into the army anyway. I was constantly told I was deaf, something wrong with me. And it's true, I couldn't hear properly. When we were brought to Poltava, we got off the train and were attacked immediately. I surrendered. Honestly, I was glad to surrender. I don't want to fight. It's not my fault that I'm like this. Our state decided I was fit for service. They grab everyone and send them as cannon fodder. The only way to survive is to surrender.
Another captured soldier, Mikhail Chelenko of the 425th Skala Regiment, describes open corruption within Ukraine's army. He says commanders demand bribes to keep men from being sent to the front.
You pay the commander $10,000 to $15,000, and he won't send you to the front. The whole unit is preparing to surrender because there's no one left willing or able to fight.
Chelenko also says he saw Ukrainian artillery destroy civilian homes in Novotoretsk, near Pokrovsk.
When the shelling started, it was our own shells, Ukrainian Grad rockets, that destroyed 2 houses with civilians inside. Peaceful people were there. They said they would level Novotoretsk to the ground.
He alleges soldiers who refused suicidal orders were executed or bombed by their own side. Even the wounded were abandoned.
The losses were terrible. We had nothing to eat. They only sent us into assaults. If someone refused, they said over the radio they'd bomb him or send in another group to shoot him. Some just disappeared.
All captured soldiers say the same thing. They surrendered to live, and that their Russian captors treated them better than their own officers.
They actually saved us. They treated us better than our commanders. I see no point in holding on anymore. I tell everyone, surrender and you'll stay alive.
So while Kyiv builds weapons for export, opening offices in Berlin and Copenhagen, Ukraine's soldiers say they have nothing left. No ammo, no water, no command, no faith. Zelensky calls it a strategy for self-reliance. But to the men captured in Kupyansk and Pokrovsk, it looks more like a country running on borrowed weapons and borrowed time.